Hi, this is Dimitri Bilgir with a short video about something very important. In this video, I'm going to show you how to never again be stuck being upset without having a way of getting back to being at peace again. So why is this important? This is important because upsets happen in life. And they especially happen if you're going for something in life. If you're reaching for a goal, you're going to have setbacks and they're going to be upsetting. It's going to be upsetting to your heart, and you need some way to bring your heart to being back at peace now, not later, not when you can get to your support group, not when you can get to your therapist, but something you can do on your own fast to bring you back into an inner sense of peace and inner sense of alignment. You know, I don't believe there's a challenge more important in the world to people everywhere than finding solutions to the upsets that keep us from being at our best in our lives. So, where do we begin? How do we start answering this challenge? It turns out there are two parts or two steps to creating transformation and getting back to being at peace when your heart is upset. The first part is to really acknowledge and face how you've lost heart. It's about looking at what's really going on. What am I really upset about? And how have I bought that I'm not going to have what I need to make it through? Now, the second step is transformation. It turns out that people usually try to get transformation on what's upsetting them before they've done step one and really faced what's going on for them. It's kind of like saying, I don't want to face or deal with what's actually upsetting me. I just want it to be different. And that may be true, but that's really not the way that it works. The way that it works is when you've done step one and really faced, oh, this is how I've lost heart. From that place, it actually becomes really easy and almost automatic to risk believing in something new. So that's the two steps to coming back to being at peace. It's first, really acknowledging exactly how you've lost heart. And second, from that place, risking believing in something different. So that's the basic philosophy of what we're doing. But by now, I'm sure you're wondering, okay, how do I actually go about doing this? Of course, I won't be able to give you every detail. It's a complicated topic, and that's why I run entire weekend workshops on it. But I will be able to give you a few pointers to get you going in the right direction as you start to use this stuff with yourself. So, step one, where am I at really? And how have I lost heart? It's good to look at what in your life is precipitating this upset. For instance, there's the example of the woman I worked with who had had 5 jobs in 5 years, and she'd just been fired again, and she was upset and wanted help being able to go on and move forward and get another job and thrive. So I asked her, well, what is it that you're really upset about? And the point I want to give you here is you want to think about something physical, like a physical thing in the world, not an explanation as to why you're upset or as to why that thing happened. So I asked her, what are you upset about? And she said, well, it seems like I'm a person who can't welcome in prosperity. Okay, that is not what we're looking for. We want to bring it to something in the physical world. If you want to get clear on what you're upset about, you need to be physical. So for her, what she was upset about is, I keep getting fired. So you want something down to earth, grounded. For somebody who had an interaction that didn't go well, what are they upset about? It isn't, I'm not good at making my way through conversations that are difficult. It was, the person was mean to me. You want something very down to earth. And after you have your physical, real-world problem that's upsetting you, you next want to look at, in the face of that upset, how do I lose heart? What dark fate do I think that I'm stuck with? Like for the woman who kept getting fired in the real world, she started accepting the fate that she was always going to get knocked down. No matter how she climbed up, she'd always get knocked down. Now it's important to notice when we start to take on a fate like that, it becomes very difficult to get what we want. For this woman, how good was she at interviewing for another job and creating something tremendously wonderful in her life when she'd already bought the idea that she was fated to always be knocked down? So for this part, you really want to feel into what fate have I accepted that I'm doomed to. So that's how we figure out where you're really at and how you've lost heart. And remember, tips for this, it's not about figuring out why it's like this. It's not about coming up with lists of things you should do about it. It's simply coming face to face with what's actually upsetting you and how you lose heart when that occurs. But I said there's two parts, right? There's getting really clear on what's upsetting you and how you lose heart when that happens. And the second part is the risking of believing in something different. Now here, in this process, is where we look to your relationship with the divine. And now this stuff about your relationship with the divine is, to me, the most exciting, the most important, and in fact, the heart of everything we're doing in this healing process and everything we're doing in this workshop. Because it turns out that when you've lost heart and have accepted that you have a dark fate, you are believing in a certain kind of a world. And in that world, you're believing in a certain kind of divine. In fact, when you've lost heart, you're believing in a kind of divine that would create you to have some sort of longing, but set you up to always fail. Like with the woman who had bought the idea that she was always going to fall. Whether she liked it or not, when she'd bought that fate, she was believing in a divinity that would set her up to really long to soar in life and do well, but to always be fated to fall. So there's a real opportunity here, having faced the truth of where you're at and how you've lost heart and what kind of a fate you've bought, you're fated for, to actually say, you know what? This is not the highest and most merciful divinity that I can conceive of. And that is the moment of taking the risk. To say, I don't know what's better than this, but I believe that there is something. And I like to say, gathering up that part of you that's been broken by buying this dark fate and turning and pulling back the curtains and letting in the true light. You let yourself bathe in that light and see how is the real, highest and most merciful with you and supporting you, even when you've bought this dark fate. It's like you're asking, is it really true that I am fated to this bad fate that I've bought? For the woman who'd bought the idea that she was always going to fall, when she turned like this, and pulled back the curtains and let in the light, she said it started reminding her of when she was on a high ropes course and she stood on top of some pole that's like 30 feet tall, but she had a tether on her, so if she fell, she was tethered to something that would keep her safe. And she said, I realized as I turned to the light, I'm tethered to something that will keep me safe. I'm tethered to the divine. And the sensation of that transformed who she was able to be when it came to going to look for another job. Because she went, instead of as the woman who was doomed to fall, she started going as the woman who was tethered to the divine and could stand in a high place safely. So this has been a very quick overview of how you can get back to being at peace when you're upset. And in fact, it's how you can get back to being at peace with even more inner resources than you had before you got upset. I love the idea that we don't know actually what we're meant to become in this life, so we don't know the experiences that we need to have in order to become who we're meant to become. If you have a tool, however, to get through the upset that those experiences can create and get back to being at peace, the odds of you becoming who you're meant to become and having a truly amazing life go up dramatically. So this is part of what we'll be covering at the Divinity Checkup workshop in significantly more depth and detail. If this speaks to you, and you'd like to really dig into these tools so you can never be stuck again being upset without having a way out, then you may want to check out this workshop. To find out more and to enroll, go to divinitycheckup.com. Now, the dates for the workshop coming up are October 16th and 17th of 2010 in Chicago and November 20th and 21st in DC. I'm really excited to share this because this really is a powerful path to building a life where being at peace and happy is the norm, and being upset is just a temporary detour on the way back to being at peace again with even more inner resources and even more of a sense of joy in life. So, I hope to see you at the workshop, and thanks for watching.